Hi everyone! Continuing on with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. I still feel like I have to say the whole name sometimes just for the sake of it because it's such a name. Anyway, today I am doing Good Morning, Good Morning, and actually we're very close to the end of the album. We have this song and what is it, 2 more? And that's it! And then we move on to the next album, which is kind of exciting to me, although I have to say I have relished every moment with this album, enjoyed every bit of it, and it's such a wonderful piece of art from so many different angles. It's also such a leap forward in what the Beatles were doing, and I'm eager to see what they do in the future, but I don't want to anticipate at the expense of, not paying attention to this. So here we are with Good Morning, Good Morning. Funny little story. Just as we were walking into the studio this morning, well, let's watch my first listen and then I'll tell you. Speaking of surprises, so you can see with the first listen, I was really quite amused and entertained by this song. I'm not sure, I don't think that I really felt that there was any grand material in it, but it was entertaining and amusing. Well, this morning, as we were walking into the studio, I had just listened to the song a couple times to freshen it in my mind, and Vlad said, so what's with this song? What am I going to be hearing about today? And I said, actually, there's a lot. And the look on his face was kind of a bit shocked. He said, really? It's such a throwaway piece. I said, you wait. So here he is behind the camera. He's waiting. And I am going to see what he thinks of the song after I am done talking about it and enjoying it with you on this video. But I'm hoping that this morning is actually going to be a little bit of a revelatory journey for Vlad as well. And those of you who've been following this whole project know that the Beatles is Vlad's favorite band. So maybe he'll get a bit more appreciation for one of their little pieces. We'll see. The official genre is pop rock and hard rock, another sort of rocky piece. I guess I commented last time that the previous song was kind of the first rocky piece we'd heard in a while on this album, so here we are sticking with the rock concept a little bit more consistently. I often sit at the piano working at songs with the telly on low in the background, John related during this time. That's British, telly. Here in America we say with the TV on low in the background. Telly's kind of cute, isn't it? If I'm a bit low and not getting much done, then the words on the telly come through. That's when I heard, good morning, good morning. It was a cornflakes advertisement. I was never proud of it. I just knocked it off to do a song. Well, maybe Vlad's opinion is kind of consistent with John's. John was feeling trapped in suburbia and was going through some problems with Cynthia, Paul relates in the book many years from now. It was about his boring life at the time. There's a reference in the lyrics to Nothing to Do and Meet the Wife. There was an afternoon TV soap called Meet the Wife that John watched. He was that bored, but I think he was also starting to get alarm bells, and so good morning, good morning. As for any input from Paul, he states, this is largely John's song. In his 1980 Playboy interview, John insists, good morning is mine, adding, it's a throwaway. A piece of garbage, I always thought. Most Beatles fans think differently, however. Ooh. Makes me cringe even now, just the assault on the senses of... First you hear the rooster crowing, right? The classic morning greeting. Early, even before it's bright, at least out in the countryside. And then all the chaos and noise that brass can... But it's brassy, and then the drums, the clatter, and then this good morning, good morning, good morning, which is, again, so insistent, so... Well, Lennon was the one who liked to have his lazy mornings in bed, wasn't he? And so I get the feeling that this is a bit of, well, if he's saying good morning in a song, we need to sit up and listen. And this is such a picture of the assault on the senses, the assault on the psyche. And then at the end of this intro, we have this trumpet-like trill here. It says guitar in my score. I've no clue what instrument they used. It doesn't really matter from as far as what I'm talking about today. I mean, yes, it matters, but it's kind of, as I said, brassy, trumpet-like, and and at the same time, we have this Ringo banging away with a insistent, obnoxious drum fill. And I say that as a compliment, in an approving manner. It fits so well the setup of this piece. And there's something else going on here. Let's see. I guess it is this brass here, which happens at the same moment of good morning. Every time we get to the word good, there's this sort of noise, chaos, almost like it's we're being struck by something, hit by something, bashed in the head, bong, bong, bong. Which I think is just the combination of the good, the aggressive good being sung at the same time that really rough brass sound. It combines to feel like we are being bashed in the head. So this is such an unceremonious, obnoxious, uncomfortable opening. It becomes more than that as we get further into the piece. So let's move on and get a bit further. So there are lots of little bits of things I can comment on. I really don't want to get lost in the details and as the saying goes, not see the forest for all the trees. So on this particular song, partly because I have a bit of an agenda here with Vlad sitting behind the camera, I am going to not comment. Maybe I will actually, but I'm going to try not to put our attention on the details of things like, that great little insert of brass or the Ringo drum fill or this or that or the other thing. And instead, there are some specific things that really stand out to me in this piece, and I want to highlight those because I think that they have a lot to do with what I see as creating the value and the brilliance of this piece. So I'm just setting that aside because you won't hear me spending a whole lot of time complimenting the bass, the drums, whatever. Okay, well, y'all can do that on your own time. and I will do that. We will do that. But my focus is different this morning. Good morning. So, a couple things to notice about the melodic design of this piece. Look at this economy of means and the particular design of these phrases that are being sung. Da dum bum 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 bum. We're working within a fourth, okay? And when I say that, if you're a non-musician, I just mean we're dealing with 4 notes. If you look on the staff and you can read music, you can count from this A here, which is the highest note, to this E here, which is the lower note of that entire phrase. That's the highest, those are the outer limits of the pitches we're dealing with. And we're simply dealing with those 2 outer notes and one kind of in the middle here. I'll dot it. I guess we have this one right here, but okay. Mainly the outer limits, a couple little inner insertions. Now, each of these phrases, they're kind of irregular, but if we look at how they're created, it's mostly this that we have here. What I'm saying is, this is not following your classic arch structure of a phrase. Neither is it what a while back I noted as a McCartney favorite of short, short, long, ready, steady, go, that device. This is more a little snippet of some musical shape which kind of bounces around, goes up and down, zigzags a bit, and then it's repeated in a fairly consistent manner. We see the same thing here. Nothing to say but what a day, how's your day, how's your boy been? Okay, that's a repeat. Here in this next one, it's, again, we have to allow some flexibility in this design, but still, if you look at it, we've got this basic shape happening here. It's moving upwards a bit. We're moving actually up there. It's kind of traveling upwards. But in general, it's this basic shape which has been set up. And again, nothing to say, but it's okay. And then, of course, the good mornings are their own world, right? Their own life. Although, it's interesting. Even there, if we look at it, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's also a fourth. The interval of a fourth. Again, with one note in between. And I won't mark the whole score like that, but keep your ears open and keep your eyes open. You'll notice that most of this piece is built out of this little bit of fourth material with one or the other filler notes in between, right? If we have four, we have the outer, and either this one or this one being used. Bum, 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 bum. And it bounces around. It's flexible, as I said, but that's one notable thing about how this piece is created. Okay, so then, and the other thing, okay, I'm going to erase this a bit because this is something that stood out to me as I was listening this morning before I came into the studio. I was starting to notice the meter and the rhythm of this piece, which it's funny if we go back to the beginning and the way it starts off with this introduction, it feels kind of off balance, kind of unpredictable in a way. The way the brass lines up with this good morning and these accents that we have on good morning. In other words, what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily feel like it's a regular meter. When we sit down and start counting the beats, that is one of the rare moments in the piece that actually is a regular meter. When we come into this verse, nothing to do to save his life, call his wife in. Nothing to say but what? Look here. Again, I'm asking you to look at the sheet music because it's the quickest way to get a handle on what is going on. Look at these numbers. 5-4. Just a little ways down the road. 3-4. Then a little ways down just one bar down the road. C, or 4-4. Immediately next bar, 5-4. Next bar, 4-4. Next bar, 3-4. Next bar, a couple bars, 4-4. You see how rapidly the beat pattern is changing. And of course, this was not created on paper. This was created at the instruments. They were, and Lennon was coming up with this tune and playing it however whatever instrument he was using. So he wasn't mapping out, I have this many bars of this, or I'm going to transition to here. He wasn't thinking about notation. And if we listen to this, we might even be able to argue, if we want to get really esoteric and pedantic, we could argue about whether it's a 3-4 bar and a 4-4 bar, or a 4-4 bar and a 3-4. We could argue about those details, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that the beat pattern is constantly changing. And how many of you, I would like to know, actually feel that it is somehow unpredictable or constantly changing? If you're a drummer, if you're a musician, you might. But if you're not, you might just feel that there's this sort of unease and discomfort in the piece, but it doesn't really come screaming at you that, oh my goodness, there's a beat pattern change. Oh my goodness, there's a beat pattern change. It's not one of the pieces that we have the pulse pattern changing, yelling at us for attention. It just happens underneath as just one of the things that makes this piece feel the way it does. Let's notice what's happening. Oh, let's go back and notice how wonky the 4/4 part is, and then how subtly the beat changes, how smoothly the beat changes happen when it's not 4/4. The other thing that makes this work so well is actually Ringo just going bash, 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 bash. I talked in the introduction about how it feels like you're being bashed in the head. Ringo just picks up that idea and he's like, okay, let's just go whack, 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 whack. And it works. It works so well. Nothing to do. And what that does is that it gives it basically a single beat. Bang, bang, bang. No specific accent here or there or the other place. So all of these changing accents can happen above it, and that single beat just gives you a constant smooth table on which to lay everything out. And that's one of the reasons it flows so well, even though it's really so crazy with the beat patterns. And then we take these beat patterns and we add the syncopation that's happening. Nothing to do. And there is an accent on nothing to do if we listen to what's happening here. What if we were to beat on the accents of the lyrics? In fact, truth is I have some drums back here I almost never use, right? We could even do this with a drum. Let's see if I can even drum. Here we go. We'll start from the beginning with the intro. That'll help us get set up. It's not good morning. It's good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, so let's try this again. The beast. I've got nothing. Okay, let's see if we can back up here. How's your boy been? It's really crazy. I mean, I'm looking at this trying to follow the score, listen to the music, and match it with the drum. Yes, I listened to it 2 or 3 times this morning, but I don't have this piece memorized yet, so it's a lot to process at once. Anyway, but you get the idea of bum, 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 bum. It's the accents are not in line with the beat that Ringo is laying down, and they're not consistently in the same place throughout. So it's really rhythmically set up in such a way that we are uncomfortable without really knowing why as we're listening. Then to do, it's up to you. Okay, notice. This is one thing that I picked up on this morning before I came into the studio, and I'm going to call it out now because it's worth being aware of before we get there. Ringo's drum fills. Several of them, and I haven't decided if it's every single one, but several of them feel like a sort of precursor, a harbinger of the middle section, which comes the section where everybody knows there's nothing to do, and it's sort of this rapid fire singing, speaking. It feels like, after I've heard this twice in a row, like I did this morning. The first time I listened to it this morning, I got halfway through and got to this point. I was like, oh wait, I heard that in the drums. I went back the second time to listen and pay attention. I didn't exactly hear that in the drums, but somehow the drums called it up and prepared me for it. So I want us to listen and be aware of that as well. So this is one of those moments here. I like that. Another thing with Ringo, where he's going to work, don't want to go, feeling the low down, boom, right here, feeling the low down, boom, and it's as if that beat was placed there just especially for Ringo to go, boom. Don't wanna go feeling and here you expect to hear boom again, but instead back to this whole rhythmic scheme that is just crazy in this piece. We've been in simple time. Now we're moving to a sort of compound time. Okay, here I am using music lingo again. What do I mean? I mean, if a beat divides 1, 2, bum, 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 1 and 2 and 1, the beat divides in half evenly. Just split it down the middle. Good. That is simple time. Compound time. The beat divides in 3. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and slice it into 3 even pieces. Okay, usually a piece of music is one or the other. Or if we're going to get complicated, we might go from one to the other. But we don't normally have so many beat pattern changes, time signature changes, numbers of beats in a bar, and be bouncing between dividing in 2 or dividing in 3. So this is what makes this feel different here. We've been in simple, dividing equally down the middle for 2. Now we're dividing in 3. Wanna go feeling low down. This one. Yeah, da. That was good too, right here. So did you feel the difference, the shift, where it went from simple to the triplet, and it made it feel like, I don't know, somewhere things are rolling so quickly you can hardly keep up. And then the way that John is singing, everybody knows there's nothing doing. It comes so fast at us. That also is because of the change in the division of the beat. So all of these things, they just combine into this piece, which on the surface we might think it's a funny little, as he said, a throwaway song. Come on. There's a lot more to it than just a throwaway song. Maybe he thinks it's horrible, but we'll talk about that later too, because we all know that Lennon was sometimes deprecating of his own work. Artists often are. And we happen to find something really worthwhile in it. Somehow it speaks to us or carries a message that is important. And I guess that's what I think about this piece. It carries a message that is important. And it's not the fact that we're getting up out of bed in the morning. So we'll get to that when we get to the lyrics. The one you see is half asleep and you're on your own. Notice in this sort of solo section, what's happening underneath in the instruments is still kind of behaving like the accompaniment of the verse part. Let's see if we can pick that out here. That is the same sort of thing that we had here. Everybody knows there's nothing doing, but now it's in harmony, right? People running around, it's 5 o'clock. It adds a sense of more voices, more activity, more noise, more chaos, more nonsensical behavior. And that is really what is being conveyed in this piece. I noticed this too. So, lyrically, and I wouldn't have noticed this if I weren't paying attention to the written lyrics. Somebody needs to know the time. Glad that I'm here. In other words, it's this commentary on, and we'll get to that a bit more. Glad that I'm here. In other words, okay, maybe I have a reason. I'm happy to be able to tell somebody the time. But listen to how he sings it. He tweaks it just a little bit. Glad the time here. And so he's playing with words again. Just as he was playing with this good morning, good morning. He's constantly messing and flipping meanings on their head. And this is another moment where it's like, okay, did he do that on purpose? Glad's the time here. Well, hold on. It's not necessarily, it's this irony, this sarcasm, this good morning. We really don't feel like it's a good morning. Now he says, glad the time here. Glad, happy. The time here is a glad time. Not really. It's again his sarcasm and irony coming through in a humorous way. Somebody needs to know the time. About the time we got to the horses galloping, it sent me somewhere. Where did it send me? Orwell's Animal Farm. And suddenly, this became not an entertaining, funny, goofy, throwaway, joke of a piece. Suddenly it became a piece of music which brilliantly comments on the foolishness and nonsense of so much of society, and at the same time brings in this whole Orwellian Animal Farm reference, so that it's as if Lennon is saying something really profound and critical of the way we go about our lives and the way society is working and going about its life, without ever actually saying anything other than good morning. And yes, I understand that this came out of sort of his personal experience in life, but Lennon was no fool. He was, as I get to know his music more, as I learn more and more about him, he was a deep thinker, and he was very astute and insightful in the things that he saw in society and the things that he experienced, and he chose certain ways of relating and addressing those. As an artist, as a musician, he's using his art to speak on these topics. Now, in this modern age, this very political age, many pop artists and stars, whether they're musical or otherwise, feel a need to add their voices and use their position to say something relevant and meaningful towards the issues that they feel are important today. That's nothing new. What I find beautiful about this piece and brilliant about this piece is that Lennon has done so, should I say obliquely? But it's not oblique. But at the same time, he commented on some very important issues without ever having said a word. And to me, that is the brilliance of the piece. And as I listened, 2 or 3 times this morning as I was getting it fresh in my mind, and then that whole, the drum fill made me go back the second time, and then I got to the end and it was the Animal Farm. Oh my goodness, I've got to listen. I guess it was 3 times I listened this morning. And then we walked into the studio, and that is why, as we were walking in, I was all excited, and Vlad's like, it's just this little throwaway good morning piece. It's a silly piece. I said, you wait. Anyway, I don't know if I've convinced you, Vlad, but to me, this is artistic brilliance at its finest.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. So, of course, I don't know. I can hardly wait for this recording to be over so that I can hear a bit more of Vlad's thoughts now on the matter. But that's how I feel about this piece. Is it a piece that I just listen to because I love it? No, because on the surface, it sounds like foolishness. It sounds like I don't want to wake up, and this is how the world assaults me when I have to come to my senses. But to me, there is so much more depth to this piece. There is some profound social commentary and commentary on the nature of humanity and the state of humanity, which is such that it makes us, I was talking about, and why was I talking about all this? Why does it make us feel uncomfortable, unsettled? It should. And at the same time, how many of us can recognize this sort of feeling? At some point in our lives, feeling like, I walk down the street and I see everybody just kind of going about their lives, what does it say, half asleep? Again, playing with this idea of mourning, half asleep, but it's more than just being not quite awake from the day, you haven't had your coffee yet. This is half asleep in the sense that we're not aware of what we're doing with our lives. And do we even care? Do they even, it's a blindness, it's a stupidity that is so common to humanity. And so it's a call to wake up. It's a call to look at ourselves. It's a call to really think about, what are we doing with our lives? If we wish to be doing something with our lives, what do we wish to be doing? Should we be doing? There are so many things that it makes us ask of ourselves because it feels so incredibly familiar and relatable. And there are some songs, a couple of songs I've commented on the way where I said, Lennon sounds a bit preachy. The brilliance of this one is that there is absolutely nothing preachy about it. In a way, it's a remake of Orwell's Animal Farm. It has a bit of a different message, but it's in the same vein. And it makes us stop and think. It requires us to stop and think in a way that, well, those of us who are half asleep going about our day, we need to be made to stop and think. We need to be made to wake up. And that's what I see as the power of this piece. So this journey gets more and more interesting. And now it's not just my journey. I feel like maybe I'm contributing a bit to Vlad's journey. At least I hope. It's kind of fun. He's introduced me to so much. And it's kind of fun to sit here and realize, I think I have something that I can introduce him to on a song from his favorite band. So that's why I'm a little bit extra lively and happy at the moment. That was Good Morning, Good Morning. I wish you all, wherever you are, a truly good morning. And we will continue in the near future, wrapping up this album and ready to dive into the next. I'll see you soon.